Jack Licata, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Bora. Thanks for having me.
Jack, let's learn about the beginning story of BAGUPS. You have an interesting background. I read your story. You're an Air Force captain, and somehow you found yourself in trash duty, and then you just had a eureka moment. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I went to a military college, and right from there, I went into the Air Force, and went to the Space Academy, and I was a nuclear missile launch officer, and so it was underground 8 days, kind of 16 days a month because it was like 24 hours, and didn't have much time off. And one of the days a month on my time off, I had to work in the office, and then at the end of the day, I had to change the garbage. Now, there's nothing wrong with changing garbage. It's not beneath me, but I was an MBA student at the time, and I was looking at functionality and time motion studies. And I said, this is so inefficient. You have to go down the hall, get the bags, come back to where the garbage can is, change the garbage, right? Fluff it out, find the open end, and then take the garbage out. And sometimes you take the garbage out and there's an empty container there and people throw garbage in it, especially if you watch. I studied kids in the fast food industry, Burger King and McDonald's, and they just said it's just not a good time motion function. So to make this efficient and save time, what needs to be done is you have to eliminate all those other steps. Burger King or McDonald's, they'll move the soda fountain, 2 inches closer and save 2 seconds, and that's like gigantic. So it was kind of along that spirit, really. And other than putting a lot of garbage bags in the bottom of a can, which you'll see people do, or I see people nesting them one and then another and another, and all the time that takes, they're trying to achieve the same thing, which is put the bag where it belongs. But even that takes a lot of time. Or something breaks and now it's on the top of the can, the bags, and they're all messed up. So how do we do this efficiently? And nearly nothing existed. And that's really what happened. I had a lot of cups of coffee going to Burger Kings and McDonald's and watching how people do it. They take the bag out, they'll put it in the restaurant, it might leak, then they go to the back room, or they take it out, go to the dumpster. Someone always walks by with a full tray and dumps it in. Now you got to take that can out and clean it. So what I came up with is we call BAGUPS. And it really just solves all the problems. So I'm going to show you the homeowner side, not the commercial size, because we really pivoted. So what you'll get is a box like this when you order from us, okay? And then there's 4 steps to it. Number 1, you're going to open the box. Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay, then you're going to take out this bag, it's on a roll, and you're going to drop it into the can. It's really that simple. Then, when it's full, you're going to pull it out, tear it off. The next bag is already there. There's no looking for the bag. There's no which is the open end, having to fluff it out. It's done. And then the real beauty is, Bora, because that's just then putting more stuff in a can, but the beauty is when you get to the last bag, this whole box is going to pop out. You don't put your hand in the can. And then you're going to get a refill roll, okay, like this. You're going to refill this, and you're going to start all over again. It really is that simple.
The box is at the bottom of the can.
The box is in the very bottom of the can.
Yep.
When you change the trash, okay, you're going to pull this out. It's going to be full, right?
Yep.
The next bag's right there. You don't have to go hunt for the next bag. So it's right there. You now line the garbage can, and you do that again and again. There's 15 bags in this box. If you change every other day, that's a month's supply. And then at the end, when it's empty, when you get to the last bag, you're going to know it's the last bag, because when you pull it, the whole box in the garbage, the full garbage, is going to come out. And then you just open the box, okay? You take out what's really just going to be a spindle at the end. See, there'll be nothing in the box. And then you take this replacement roll we send you,
Yeah.
kind of like the razor and the razor blade. These are like the razor blades. You take this, just pop it into the holes that are there, okay? And you start again. Okay, I have a rubber band on this one.
Yeah.
But then you start again, and there's your next, month supply of bags. And that's how the system works.
So interesting. It's something that you don't really. There are a few things in our daily routines that we just do it. We don't really think about it. But when you have a conversation like this, you kind of actually think about, there's like a 5 minutes or 3 minutes every day. Or now we have garbage trucks coming every Wednesday. So tomorrow they're coming in the morning. What are some of the difficulties around this experience? We have raccoons entering the outside garbage. We have to put like a big rock on top of it, and sometimes it leaks and nasty garbage juices in there, so that's a problem. I remember seeing a company, I don't remember their name, but it's a machine. It actually turns garbage into some kind of a soil or something. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, there's a company that make what they like home composters.
Yes.
So you'll take all your organic material. It's great. If
Yeah.
you want to do that. If you live in an apartment, it might be different. But you take all your bio-organic material and you put it in that, and over time, it's going to turn into we call hummus.
Right. Interesting.
Awesome. Well, these
Yeah.
bags. Now that you brought that up, the bags that we make, okay, also will turn into hummus. So this plastic, this is regular plastic, linear low density polyethylene. So people go, oh, is it just as strong as regular bags? Well, it is a regular bag. And it's 0.7 mil, or 0.9 actually, most are 0.7. It's very strong. This has a additive in it that what it does is it takes the carbon and the hydrogen molecule and the electron, which is very tight. This is why plastic doesn't break down for thousands of years. This is why plastic is good on some hands. Not good for the environment. But it's good because it's a strong molecule. We don't want the bags breaking down in our garbage can when they're full of hot soup and coffee grinds, which will happen with like certain compostable bags. That's why this is biodegradable. So it's a tight molecule. But when it gets in the environment, we don't want it around for 1,000 years. So it's it's got double duty. There's always a problem in the solution cycle. We made this great solution, but then we have a problem when it gets in the environment. So to solve that, this company we found, and took a long time to research them and find the right company, makes an additive that actually just unwinds the bond between the carbon and the hydrogen electron, so that it goes back to carbon and hydrogen. It breaks down, and what's left is what they call hummus, which is like worm food, like when you put your organic material in a composter and, let it sit there and do everything it's got to do. So that was, part of the journey of this product was, first of all, how do you make this whole thing work? It's not as easy as it sounds. It took me a long time to figure out how to make that box come up, which is where our patents are. We have 5 patents. How do you make the container come out of the can, separate, and then be refillable? That took a long time. I was, we were looking at staples and glue and all that kind of stuff, but in mass manufacturing, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And doing a lot by hand. But we had to come up with a way to have this be scalable. And we even invented, actually took machines and created our own machines with the right counters and stuff to do this process. So this is so simple, but it's years in the making and the development and getting it so it could be mass produced.
So let's get into that, right? I think what's happening here is a really important entrepreneurial journey, and I want people to understand this. And in order to understand it, I like to put myself in your shoes in those early days. So I like to kind of try to think of myself. I'm an Air Force captain I'm doing this stuff, and all of a sudden I'm annoyed with this garbage taking experience. Uh, I mean, we identify annoyances and frustrations in our daily lives, but not all of them we decide to take action on, right? So we're like, oh, this is so annoying. But now it's at a level where I'm saying, I gotta do something about this. So now I want to understand the psychology. Why do I want to say I want to do something about this?
Yeah.
So like I'd like to understand your background. You mentioned you're getting an MBA. I read about other entrepreneurial ventures. So I kind of want to understand here the motivation. Is it, I mean, there's a lot of environmental uh, benefits here. Is it coming from a good for the environment angle? Is it coming from a there I have a special passion for this type of business angle? Is it coming from a I'm an innovator at heart, I love starting new things angle? What is the main motivation that's driving you down, solving this problem and turning into your life's work?
Well, the main motivation started with making it easier for the person that has to change the trash. That's really where it started. It started in making something that people hate to do. If you ask people, maybe cleaning the toilet bowls is worse, but the person who gets regulated, relegated to changing the trash, whether it's at home, just look at your home, it's usually the youngest kid, or someone who's, on bad duty, you know what I mean? They're getting punished. It's usually, or at work, you look at the workplace, it's usually the lowest level employee. And if you look at some of the fast food restaurants and chains who really are out to make a difference and employ, a lot of them really do a great job, and my heart goes out to them, to employing the disabled or people with special needs. Look who's changing the trash. And my hat's off to them for employing people with special needs. But that's who it gets relegated to changing the trash. And that's that's exactly where it started at first, and then it just grew. So it started with making a difference for the person that has to do this function. That's number one. Just to back up, I started this before the internet, okay? So I wasn't able to
What
Google.
year was it, Jack?
It was like when I originally started, talk about how old this was.
Let's go
When I
from
got out of the
idea
service
to
was
what year was the idea?
1998.
Idea
So
was
like
1998.
1990, 1988. Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Okay, that
I'm
is
dating
way before
myself.
the
I can't
internet.
even
Yeah.
remember. Now, it was 1988. Where were you in 1988? Okay. That's
I was starting middle school.
So that's where I started the journey. And now I had another full-time job, so I wasn't working on this full-time. But it was just, I just knew that this was something whose time had come. Because if I'm saying this for entrepreneurs, if I had this pain point, and I talked to other people, I had other people have to have this pain point. And this really is like the simplest thing, like the remote control for your TV. Well, we used to get up for years and change a channel on the TV. It wasn't that big of a deal, but boy, somebody got regulated in the house. So usually the young kid, go change the channel. Somebody gets regulated that job. Or putting your key in the car to open the door. I mean, is it that big of a deal? But boy, we love our remotes, and we don't want to go back. Or the cell phone. I have to go to a place and call someone, or now I can do it wherever I am. It's kind of that evolution. It's like that simple. So it started there, Bora, like that simply. And then, I had to go call and go through the yellow pages to find plastic manufacturers.
But
You
hold
couldn't
on a
just
second.
Google them.
Hold on a second. So now we've decided we want to build this thing because we want to solve the problem for the people. So now, what am I going to build, right? So now again, I'm in your shoes. This is the problem. I got to do something, make a bag, kind of a system, a situation that makes it easier for people. But you described to me a few micro innovations here, maybe 3 or 4 different ones, which, how do I know those are the things that I need to innovate, right? Like one of them was the opening. That's an easy one to understand. Oh, like it's, I don't know which end. Or there's a Seinfeld commercial way back when at the grocery store he's trying to open the bag. Do you blow on it? Do you wet it? The older lady can't open it, so it's a little bit like that. But like,
Yeah.
okay, so that's one of the things you got to innovate. The biodegradable part of it, the box has to go to the bottom. It's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, you're so right. It sounds really simple, but I don't even know where to begin solving this problem. How did you know where to begin? How did you know what page to open in Yellow Pages? Who do you want to contact? Like those are such small details that are actually quite difficult.
Yeah, and I really actually started for the commercial market. Said, I'm going to start with the commercial market. So I knew the size, okay? I knew the size bag that the commercial market uses. And then I measured the garbage can that most Burger Kings and McDonald's have, okay? So I had the dimensions of the box I needed, and I had the dimensions of the bag. And so I really, now we say Google, I looked in the Yellow Pages for box manufacturers near me. And I looked in Yellow Pages for plastic manufacturers.
So
and
you knew there had to be a box first, right? Like this.
Knew there had to be a box first.
Yeah.
And I knew there had to be plastic in it. And I knew the size. I didn't know where to get any of this stuff. And when you're a little guy, you're nobody like me. No one wants to deal with you. You think plastic manufacturers, people that want to make millions of pounds of plastic because it's a commodity, want to make a small run for me?
What is a
And people
small
that
run
make
in this
box-
world?
What's
What's
that?
the size of a small run in this world?
Well, a small, a small run for a plastics manufacturer, we're talking about a couple hundred rolls, like thousands of pounds. They do everything in pounds, okay? Thousands of pounds of plastic.
And how much does
I
that
had no
cost?
use-
Like,
I
what
was
would
just
be your minimum investment to just get that small run?
Yeah. Well, I wound up having to go to not a manufacturer, but now I had to go to someone in between, like a distributor, and buy small quantities. And for the box people, it's the same thing. They want you to do tens of thousands of boxes, especially in a special die cut that I wanted. So I was lucky enough to find some factories that would do samples for me. Now I had to pay for the die, but they would do small runs, very expensive, but they would do small runs so I could, beta test everything. And then here was the thing, like for any entrepreneur, if you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll never get started. I read a book or I heard someone say, and it made a big difference for me. If a train waited for every light to be green before it left New York City to get to Chicago, it would never leave Penn Station. So you have to just put one in front of the other and start going. And that's what I did. But what I couldn't figure out was how to make this whole thing, the box come out at the end and then separate it. And I went to plastic engineers up in Rochester when I think Mobil actually had a plastics division. We went up there, and those guys couldn't figure it out, to do it mass production. They're coming up with, well, maybe you glue it, but that ruins the machine. And believe it or not, they couldn't figure it out. And other than like a staple, and I came up with this other system that was in it. And then one day, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was my plastics distributor. He wore these little glasses that were half rimmed, and he goes, oh, here's how you do it. And he takes a penknife out of his pocket, and he goes in the box, and he draws a line like this, a score, and he puts one bag through it, the first bag through it. He goes, this is how you do it. I'm like, I was like, wow. I'm telling you, it was like that. Talk about a breakthrough moment. So, not that got me started, okay? It was very labor intensive. But from there, I was able to prove the concept. And what I did, Bora, is I had these small runs, and I would just go to Burger King's or McDonald's, and I'd have a cup of coffee, and I'd watch the person who had to change the garbage, and then I'd call over the manager, or I'd go buy something and say, "Can I speak to the manager?" And the manager would come out and say, "I got something for you." Said, "I've been watching how you change the trash." I said, "What if I save you a couple man hours a day? Would that mean something to you?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I can save you a couple man hours, because this thing, I have independent studies, for every 100 garbage bags you change, you save at least 1 to 2 man hours, depending on how far away the storage is." And they're like, "Okay." And I'd give them a box and had 5 in it. And then I'd come back and they're like, "Yeah, I want to order these." Because franchises do not have to order garbage bags from the manufacturer, okay? Because it doesn't affect the quality of the product. Of course, the hamburgers they got to buy and the buns, but not the toilet paper or the the trash bag. Mm-hmm. So they would reorder them, but where I got bogged down was in distribution. We also got in with the VA hospital system from a trade show. We were doing a restaurant trade show in Manhattan and met a buyer from one of the VA hospitals, and they brought us in to work to sell into the kitchens, and it was great, but it came down to we had to deliver it ourselves, and you can't scale a business without the distribution. So
Jack,
either myself or my
before I think we fast forward a little bit too much to the VA hospitals. I kind of want to get you from, all right, we got our small runs, and now how did you get your first 5, 10? At this point, you decided on a business it's trying to sell it to businesses. How did you convince them? What did you tell them? Right. Let's talk about that part. Production, initial sales, and then we can talk about the distribution.
Yeah, I forgot production. That's the other thing I had to solve. And other than me in the beginning doing it in my living room, pulling out these long rolls and then fan folding them myself, I had another business at the time, and I was at a trade show, and I met a woman who was representing an occupational center in Orange, New Jersey. And I needed something done, put together by hand. They were emergency spill kits at the time. I was in a different business. And she said, we can make these for you. I go, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, there's this thing called occupational center. And we, have people that are disabled and they want to work." And Bora, that just went clunk for me, because I told you this started, I got out in 1988. In 1990, I was engaged. And right before my wedding, my fiance got into a car accident, which nowadays would be probably nothing with an airbag. Something happened, she hit a tree, and she's head injured. And I spent 10 years going from hospital to hospital to hospital. She was in a coma for about 9 months. Her father had passed away early on. She had an elderly mother, so it really was just me. She didn't have much family. And I saw what goes on in those rehab hospitals, especially for really injured people, head injured people, and just injured, really disabled. So much. I built a group home. Okay, eventually she's a ward of the state now, because that's how bad it was, unfortunately. And I said, if I ever can make a difference for this population, I'm going to do it. Because nobody chose to be disabled. Nobody chose, whether you were born that way, you were a victim of a crime, or you were in a car accident, or something went bad, whatever it is, nobody chose to be disabled. And rather than have people sit around defining themselves by their disabilities, I want them to be defined by what they can do and what they do. And boy, when you see the difference, when people they come to work, they're so happy to be on Team BAGUPS, that's what we call it. They love what they're doing. They go home fulfilled. Their families are happy. They have something to do. They're not sitting around. It works all the way around. So that's where I got the manufacturing done. And again, I didn't know how this was going to happen. That's just
such a serendipitous moment.
Yeah. So I started working with an occupational center, and that's how we got production done. And we still do.
Amazing. And sales. How are we doing sales right now? How did you decide who to sell to? And what were your sales motions? Picking up the phone, visiting them, explaining to them this is a better
Oh,
way?
no, this is the kind of product you put in someone's hand, not over the phone. So that's why I would go to these Burger Kings and McDonald's or the trade shows, and people would see it and they wouldn't even get what it was because nothing existed. There is nothing still that exists. The category we called is a trash bag dispensing system. Google that. There's no such thing as a trash bag dispensing system.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't all that intuitive. People didn't get it. Even at trade shows, we'd show them. And then once they tried it, they're like, why didn't I think of this? This is a no-brainer. Yeah, that's what we even said. It's a no-brainer. It's kind of like one of our taglines. But sitting on the shelf, if you saw this thing sitting on the shelf, okay, you might not know you wouldn't know what it is. So we tried to go retail. We spent a lot of time going to the shows, the retail shows, the McCormick Plaza in Chicago. We spent years going there, and people loved it. Okay, even the woman from QVC picked us up. We were on QVC for we did one run, but it just doesn't run off the shelf without some sort of explanation. It's one of those kind of things because people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So sales was, like I said, I go to a trade show or we go to a Burger King or McDonald's, put it in their hand, and then come back and they're like, I got to have that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how sales started. Our problem in the commercial space was distribution. Mm-hmm. When a box of these are heavy, plastic's heavy, and a 5-pack on a commercial is too heavy to UPS to people. It's very expensive. And I wasn't able to find a food distributor like a US Foods or a Cisco, someone that's delivering to Burger Kings or McDonald's, to add this. We tried. We had a few restaurants down in the Jersey Shore where the woman loved it. And she said, I want this. And I said, well, what you do is you go to your food distributor and you tell them to add this product. And she did. And for a while we were working through US Foods, but the problem is US Foods never took it on to grow it. They just took it to deliver to her because we didn't have the money to give the salesman spiffs like, oh, sell a case of tomatoes and you get something. Or you win a trip. Whoever sells the most Betty Crocker cakes this month wins a trip to Jamaica, to Sandals. We didn't have that money, so they weren't pushing it. So it kind of died on the vine, and I could never get distribution going.
Mm-hmm.
That's when then the internet came along. See how I'm dating myself, right? Then we pivoted, and we said, you know what? Let's go to the residential size and use the internet. And our distributor is the U.S. Post Office.
Mm-hmm. How heavy is that
and this
bag?
reduces
It's pretty
your
light,
carbon
right?
footprint because the mailman's coming to your house anyway.
Yeah.
So there's no separate truck coming. So we pivoted and went 100% e-commerce. Now, it just so happened we really took off when COVID started. We didn't time it this way. But when COVID came in is really when we launched the e-commerce platform. And we knew nothing about e-commerce. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know what SEO stood for, okay? I couldn't even spell it if you gave me 2 vowels. I had no idea. How to learn Ship Easy, Shopify, Recharge, all the things you have to learn. And I'm still very bad at it. Thank God I have some help. And that's really where we are on that side, Bora. So we have about 4,500 subscribers, and that was the whole thing. Okay, do you go to a pure subscription model? I mean, we love the Dollar Shave Club. Who doesn't love the Dollar Shave Club? And how they went viral and their funny videos, and we're thinking, oh, if we could just do that, we'd be done. Well, that ship has passed because nobody's that great anymore, and people have seen all those videos, and they really don't go viral like that anymore. It takes a lot more work. I started studying guys like Gary Vaynerchuk. Okay,
Sure.
Gary V. I even went and stood for 3 hours. See, that's his signature right there. Met him in
Oh,
person and
is he an
got all his
investor?
books. Yeah, he signed it for me. I got pictures of him and talked to him for a little bit and follow him. So now it's like following. I even had to take out a book from the library, Instagram for Dummies. Okay, it's like this is so how to like ramp up. And like I said, I know this much, but we're able to hire some great people now, really great marketing who know all this stuff. And I stretch just to listen to understand what they're saying. But I'm keep evolving. So we've got about 4,700 subscribers, but we also, so that was the thing. Do we just do subscription, or we do subscription and allow people to buy one time with the hope of they're going to love it so much they're going to move to subscribing? You know, these are all the questions for an entrepreneur to
And what was your
struggle
answer?
with. To allow people to do both. To do both.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want a lower entry and you don't want to worry about subscribing because you don't know if you're going to like the product, we have like a try me pack. This 2-pack. And some people really haven't moved off the 2-pack. It's our biggest seller. But eventually people then move to a 5-pack, which is just refills, okay? Because they bought the razor already. Now they're buying the blades. And we added doggy poop bags. So then as an entrepreneur, what were people asking us for?
Sure.
A lot of people asked us for doggy poop bags. They asked for a 30-gallon size. So we added a 30-gallon size. So everything we have in a 13, 2-pack, a 4-pack, a 6-pack, an 8-pack, refill rolls, a mega roll, we added in the 30-gallon. And now people are asking us, so we listen to your customers. People are asking us for something for the bathroom. So we'll probably break about 2 million in sales since we started. Okay, what you said, we started right about 2020. And that's kind of, there's some new products we're bringing on, but this is right where we are now. And then we're always playing with, okay, do we add this bundle? Okay, how do we get the shipping rate lower? I mean, it's always a constant messing around with stuff. It's never dialed in, and it's almost like having a baby. When you think you got it right, Bora? When you think you got them down, something changes. And you've got to like retweak it. So we're playing with what bundles go better together, what offers go better together, how to get your average order value up. We were at first, we were paying all the shipping because part of like what we were saying is people don't like to pay for shipping. I don't like to pay for shipping. But you know what? You hit a point where you go, no, you got to pay for shipping until you hit a certain value. Like it took us a while to get this and no one wants to change. And you struggle with raising prices. And COVID came and man, our prices kept going up and up and up. And we didn't want to pass it on to the customers. And you have people who are subscribed at a lower rate. How do you move them up? Those are all challenges that we've been dealing with, and we're always going to deal with them.
What a journey. Jack, final question. I know you have a new product line coming up too. I wanted to ask you about your top 2 priorities for the year. Probably one of them is that new product line, and the top 2 headaches for you right now.
Okay, so the top 2 priorities are really getting. We're always we could use funding. Okay, we could use investment. We can go slow, but we could also really put some gasoline on this fire. We have a proven model now, meaning so much dollars in gives us so much revenue. It's proven, and we can extrapolate it and grow even faster. So one of the things we're out to do is attract investors so we can just really make this hockey stick growth. The other, and I think part of this next thing I'm going to show you, the next priority is we have finalized, and this took a few years, we have finalized the formula with our manufacturer that makes our additives. This product's called Made from Stone. And why it's called Made from Stone? Because it is. So this is plastic where 30% of the plastic isn't a hydrocarbon molecule. It's actually calcium carbonate. which is stone. It's readily mined. It's like sand. And what this product does, it's stronger than regular plastic. It's much stronger. But for every 2.2 pounds of this product you use, you save 6.52 pounds of CO2. So if you're a huge consumer, this is where you get a real economy of scale. If you're like a big chain store, and I won't mention names, but if you were a big chain store that like maybe made Mexican food, or maybe you made coffee or something like that, and you owned all your own stores, and you changed over to something like this, based on how many cans you have, garbage cans, and how much you change a day, you'd probably save about 2.5 million pounds of plastic that you're not throwing out, okay? And you'd save probably 6.5 million or more pounds of CO2 just by changing to this bag. And it's really not going to be more expensive than regular plastic. It's also made from recycled content, and it has a biodegradable component to it. And it's also made in America, 100%. And again, in our packaging and assembly, we're only using veterans and people with disabilities. And that's all available. Now it's available. It's now available. We have perfected this formula. So that's really my number, is getting the commercial side of the business up is one of my real focuses for this year.
Mm-hmm. So Chipotle and Starbucks called Jack about this. Mexican and the coffee, right?
There you go. I didn't say it, you did. But United Airlines, you buy a plane ticket, it tells you what the CO2 was. Well, you don't have to change fuel, you don't have to fly less, okay? Or the power company, you don't have to make less energy or put scrubbers in your exhaust or go to electric cars. No, you change this, and that'll start you on the pathway.
Yeah. Jack Licata, thank you so much for sharing your journey with me.
Bora, really, thank you for the great interview and the work you're doing. And can I do a shout out to Joe Carr from Serendipity Kids, who introduced me to, and just a man who really wants to make a difference. I've only met him over the phone. My business partner met one of his business partners at a meeting, and he's been nothing but wanting to help us. So, shout out to him too.